Hi, I'm Jay Tompt, and I live in Devon with my family. I moved to Devon from San Francisco about 10 years ago and have been involved in the Reconomy Project, one of the co-founding members, I guess you can say. Um, Reconomy Project is all about uh, working for economic change here locally in Taunton-Ness. It's the Tompt Reconomy Project. And effectively through sort of a relocalization lens, which draws upon all kinds of sources: degrowth, the cooperative movement, solidarity economy, um, sustainable development, permaculture, obviously. And we're also part of a wider network. There's the Reconomy Community of Practice, which is an international network of 400 something odd people in 20 something odd different countries. And it's really just all about how can we make change given the agency that we have, working at a local and regional scale to transition the kind of economic system that we have to one that is bioregionally appropriate, so one that is fit for the place, kind of economic system that is inclusive and just, ecologically wise, socially regenerative, and resilient. And so I've been doing that for the past 10 years in this context, and part of as I say, part of various networks, including a regional network here. And this has included working with social enterprise networks and other actors in the field, so to speak. We've launched a sister project in Torbay called Local Spark Torbay, which is trying to sort of replicate the Reconomy model over there, or at least the model that we've, I guess, one that has emerged for us in with our work over the past 10 years, which I can say more about later. I've also been teaching economics part-time at Plymouth University, and this has been really nice because it's given me an opportunity to bring in a different perspective to what is otherwise a mainstream department. So I teach a couple of courses. One is a module in an economics in action course that I call Citizen-Led Economics, Post-Growth, Post-Crisis, Post-Capitalist, which gets into the things that I've just been referring to: relocalization, degrowth, cooperative movement, open source movement, commons, that kind of thing. And then I also teach another course. It's perspectives in economics, and for this course, we're looking at how we can shift the system. So there's climate change, there's ecological crises of all kinds, inequality. It's becoming increasingly mainstream to say the system needs to shift. Okay, so shift to what and how do we get there? So we've been looking at that in this course, looking kind of through a few different lenses: evolutionary economics and kind of the work of Schumpeter and Mazzucato and Ricardo Hausmann, and then change to what? So looking at ecological economists, Herman Daly, Tim Jackson, the thinkers in the degrowth movement, and so on. So that's been great. I've also been teaching a little bit at Schumacher, and we'll be doing some more of that hopefully in the autumn. That's me in slightly more than a nutshell. I have many complaints about the current system. I suppose if I could boil it down, the main complaint is that it's unjust from many points of view and for many different reasons. The way I guess I feel about it in my everyday experience is a feeling, this is going to sound very strange from a very privileged white man, but I do have this persistent feeling of oppression, that decisions are being made all the time that affect my life and my health and the life and health of my family. So we can see that in the political system, we're ruled by oligarchs and elites. The political culture is one of consumerism. I love this word, idiot. Its origins come from the Greeks, and they used that was the word to describe people who were uninterested and uninvolved in politics. And we have too much of that, and so what we end up with is a kind of politics that's dominated by economic interests, wealthy corporations, wealthy individuals who slant the playing field in their favor. But more than that, what these people are allowed to get away with in terms of the kind of dirty and destructive economic practices that we put up with, that pollute the environment, that change the chemical makeup of the atmosphere and the oceans, that allow each of our bodies to accumulate toxic chemicals. We carry around a body burden of, 150, 250 chemicals that we pass on to our children. Not to mention all of the injustices to many other groups of people in terms of their identities in these groups and in these classes. So the oppression of women, the oppression of ethnic groups of all kinds who are kept out of the system. I could go on and on. So the current system is a horror show in so many ways, and even though there is a it's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. When you look behind the curtain, the horrors are evident. Otherwise, it's an emerald city. We have our iPhones and so many privileges. The kind of life where, for many people, even somewhat impoverished working class people, we have the luxuries of life that allow us to think, well, we live like kings. So we have the kinds of luxuries that are amazing with the internet, with big screen TVs and the spectacle of sport and binge watching on Netflix and all this other bullshit that I also partake in. So yeah, I guess the question was, what's my biggest complaint? I think I've said about as much as I can in a couple of minutes. So the question of what the new system is it's a good question. It's one that I suppose we all think about, and in our more utopian moments, we can imagine that maybe it has some of the elements of the current pandemic lockdown, where we hear birdsong and there's no traffic, and wildlife is coming back and all those things. And I think that the kind of system that would give rise to the good things in life would be one that is much less productivist. It would be simpler. There would be much more participation amongst people in civic life and economic life. There'd be more cooperation, but also more freedom, and it would be amazing. So I know that there are lots of people who are interested in designing this kind of system, and I would venture that there's nobody out there with a brain big enough to really accomplish that fact. It's super fun to try to design what the new system might look like, or regenerative culture. I know there's some strands of thinking that say, oh, we can design the new culture, and no, we can't. We're in a complex adaptive system, and if you agree with that, if you accept that, then what we have available to us is our own agency to move into the adjacent possible and to try to to try to anticipate or to have a direction of travel, try to anticipate where we want to go and try to get there as best we can in those adjacent possibilities. And how do we get there? There are all kinds of ways to make change. And one of the opportunities that comes with calamity is an opportunity to make more change. So this is something I'm interested in at the moment. There was another thing I was going to say about all this, but I don't remember what it is. So I guess the direction of travel I'm going in is perhaps more communitarian. That's so easy though. It's so easy to discount and belittle that word. So maybe it's not the right word, or maybe people need to get over themselves. But building a democratic, an economic, socially, and politically democratic system really has to start with those relationships that happen in the places where we live, and build from there. So I suppose a confederal system with subsidiarity kind of built in would be the kind of thing that we'd be shooting for. More regional and local production aimed at meeting our needs in ways that are ecological, that are inclusive, that are fair. So I think those would be some of the elements, and I think that reflects the work that I've been involved with, at least for the last 10 years or so.